The sun hadn't even risen when I pulled up to the terminal, my old suitcase thumping against the curb as I dragged it out of the car. I had gotten there early, on purpose. There was something about being early that made me feel like I had control over how the day would go. I'd booked the ticket myself, scraped together from airline reward points and a few odd jobs I'd taken over the summer. It wasn't first class, not even close, but it was mine. I was proud of that. They said I should come. They made it clear this was a family event, Cousin Michelle's wedding, a destination ceremony in Maui, of all places. My sister had said it like a warning. You better not miss it. I took that to heart. I wanted to belong. Even after everything, I still wanted to be part of the picture, still clinging to some childish hope that if I showed up, they'd finally see me. Really see me. I took a deep breath and stepped through the automatic doors. The air inside was thick with movement, families wrestling luggage, kids crying, announcements blaring. But all I could focus on was finding them, and I did. Near the check-in counter. My mom, dad, both my older sisters, and even my younger brother, all standing in a circle like some exclusive club I wasn't part of. I smiled and waved. They saw me. They definitely saw me. But no one smiled back. I walked toward them. Maybe they were just distracted. But even when I stood just a few feet away, no one stepped forward. My mom gave a half smile, the kind you give someone you barely recognize, then turned back to her phone. My dad looked at his watch like he hadn't been checking it every 5 minutes since the 90s. My brother actually looked away. I laughed, trying to make it light. Early morning for all of us, huh? Silence. Someone brushed past me, bumped my shoulder. They apologized, sincerely. That stranger had more warmth in their voice than my family did. Then I heard my sister whisper, "Can't believe she actually came." Her voice was low, but clear enough. She must have thought I wouldn't hear, or didn't care if I did. I froze. A sick, familiar weight settled in my chest. I shook it off. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Maybe they were just tired. But then we got to the gate, and that's when everything came apart. They had already checked in. Together. Group tickets, one reservation. The airline staff smiled politely at me and said I wasn't listed. "Maybe check with your party?" she offered, trying to help. I turned to my dad. "Is there a mistake?" He didn't even look at me when he said, "It's better this way." Then he walked off. I couldn't breathe for a second. Wait, what changed? I thought I was coming with you all. Mom didn't flinch. "Maybe next time, with a real ticket." That's when it hit me. They hadn't forgotten. This wasn't a mistake. They planned it. They invited me, knowing they wouldn't actually take me. It wasn't just rejection, it was rejection with intent. I stood there, trying to make sense of it. My brother, always the comedian, pulled out his phone and held up my digital boarding pass to the group. "Basic economy. No wonder she thought she'd get on," he snorted. The others laughed, not loudly, but just enough so people around us heard. It was that kind of laugh, the kind that sticks. I stared at the floor. "It's what I could afford," I mumbled. But it wasn't for them. It was for me. Some kind of pathetic reminder that I tried. A TSA agent nearby gave me a look, half pity, half concern. A woman with a baby on her hip leaned close and whispered, "Don't let them see you cry, honey." So I didn't. I squared my shoulders. I bit the inside of my cheek until the sting distracted me from the burn behind my eyes. I remembered being 10, buying Dad a birthday gift with my own saved-up allowance. It was a mug. Said, "World's okayest dad" on it. I thought it was funny. He laughed too, but not the way I hoped. "Cheap, but sweet," he said. Same tone he used now. I turned around, gripping the handle of my suitcase tight. The wheels thudded against the floor as I walked, each step heavier than the last. And then, a loud announcement cut through the terminal speakers. "All passengers, please stand back. Security needs to clear the runway for a priority boarding case." People paused, confused. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then a uniformed airport staff member walked toward me with purpose. "Ma'am, are you—" She read off my full name. I blinked. "Yes, that's me." She gave me a tight nod. "Please come with us. Now." My family turned. Eyes wide. I stood frozen, the entire terminal watching. I heard my name echo across the terminal again, this time louder, more official. Everyone's head turned, mine included. For a second, I stood there, not moving. My name? That couldn't be right. It had to be someone else. A mistake. A glitch in the system. My family, still clustered by the check-in counter, let out a few chuckles. I could almost hear Serene's dry voice in my head. Well, what has she done now? But then I saw him. Tall, in a dark blue uniform, moving with purpose. He stopped in front of me, looked directly at me. "Are you Miss Marlowe?" he asked. His voice was calm, his badge clipped clearly to his chest. I nodded slowly, instinctively clutching the handle of my suitcase. "I need you to come with me. Airport operations. Your jet is ready." The room changed. The chuckling died in their throats, like a switch had been flipped. The sound around us dimmed. Even the announcements overhead seemed quieter. My family didn't speak. Not a word. They just watched as the man gestured for me to follow, and I did. I walked behind him, unsure of where this path led, trying not to let my fingers tremble. The officer didn't say anything more, just moved forward, focused, parting the crowd like he was used to doing this sort of thing, like people usually stepped aside for someone important. Serene's voice pierced the tension behind me. Her jet? Oh, please. He didn't turn, neither did I. We moved past security. I didn't show a ticket, didn't pull out my ID. No one asked. People whispered, some trying to sneak photos, others just staring. A woman in a denim jacket nudged her friend. "Who is she?" I kept walking. Every step felt heavier, like the ground wasn't sure if it wanted me or not. We reached a side door, the kind they don't let regular people through. It opened automatically, revealing a gust of wind and the low growl of engines in the distance. That's when I remembered something my father once told me, years ago, when I had asked why he didn't trust me with anything important. "You'll never be the kind of person they clear the runway for." His words came back now, floating up in the silence. And yet, here I was, walking through a door marked authorized personnel only, my name still echoing in the air behind me. The tarmac was loud, busy, but all I could see was the sleek white jet waiting for me. It looked like something out of a movie. Polished, intimidating, stairs already lowered, a small crew standing by. The officer paused and gestured toward it. "They've been expecting you, ma'am." I turned to him. "I think there's a mistake." He handed me a cream-colored envelope. My name was written in black ink across the front. I opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten note. "You once believed in me when no one else did. The jet's yours for today. Silas Draven." Silas. It had been almost 8 years. A small business dispute, a pro bono case I took when no one else would touch it. He'd been grateful back then, said I'd saved his future. I never thought he'd remember. I looked up at the plane again. Pride started pushing past the shock, but it came mixed with something heavier. Anger, not at Silas, at them. The ones still inside, pretending they were better, while a man I barely knew had done more for me than my own blood. I turned back toward the terminal, and through the glass wall upstairs, I saw them. Serene, mouth slightly open, mouthing something I couldn't hear. Mom, holding her purse like it might float away if she let go. Dad, frozen, rigid, jaw clenched. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I just stood taller. The pilot approached. "Would you like to wait for the rest of your party, ma'am?" I looked at him, then back at the window one last time. "They're not coming." I climbed the stairs. One hand on the rail, the other still clutching that envelope. At the top, I turned, just as the door began to close. And there she was, Serene, phone in hand, eyes locked on me, but not stunned anymore. No, her face had shifted. She was already calculating, already moving on to her next move. Whispering something to Dad that I couldn't hear. But I didn't need to. I'd seen that look before, the kind of look people wear when they realize they're losing, and don't plan to. The engines roared. The cabin hummed with soft light and calm professionalism, but my head was buzzing. Not fear, not confusion, Just the kind of alertness that comes when the game changes, and you didn't ask for it, but you're still in it. We lifted off. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing after them. They were watching me leave. The hum of the jet was steady, like a low heartbeat under the leather seats. I sat by the window, staring at clouds that looked soft enough to fall into, but all I could feel was the turbulence inside my own chest. The flight attendant offered champagne. I smiled politely, said no. My stomach couldn't handle bubbles or pretense right now. I leaned back, tracing the cold edge of the window with my finger. The sky stretched endlessly, and yet I felt trapped, alone above the world. For the first time in years, there was no noise, no comments, no laughter at my expense, no whispers behind my back, just silence. And silence has a way of unlocking doors you thought you'd sealed shut. I whispered to no one, "You don't run from your past. You carry it in your bloodstream." The words hung there, suspended in air, heavier than they should have been. Every vibration of the plane seemed to pull at something old, something I'd kept buried. I closed my eyes. And when I did, I wasn't 35 anymore. I was 13. It was my birthday. I remember because I'd spent the morning combing my hair straight, wearing the only dress I liked, pale yellow with small blue flowers. I waited in the garage, of all places, because the house was too noisy. Everyone was getting ready for Serena's dance recital. They'd forgotten. The clock on the wall ticked so loud that day. Every minute stretched like an accusation. I sat beside the old tool chest, pretending to read, pretending not to care. But every car door that slammed outside made my heart jump, hoping, just once, someone would walk in and say, "Happy birthday, sweetheart." No one did. That night, Mom gave me a bracelet, silver, thin, engraved with the word believe. She said, "Sorry, it's been hectic. You know how it is." I nodded, pretending that was enough. But later, when I walked past her room, I heard her whisper to Dad, "She's just too quiet." Always makes things complicated. That line branded itself into me. In our family, silence wasn't peace. It was inconvenience. Years passed, and the quiet became my shield. Until one night when I heard more than I was supposed to. I was 14 then, standing in the hallway after dinner, listening to Mom on the phone with Aunt Glenna. The TV was on, Dad was asleep in his chair. I wasn't supposed to hear anything, but I caught fragments, enough to twist something inside me forever. "She doesn't even look like him," Aunt Glenna said. "I know." Mom's voice was low. "It happened before the wedding. We agreed not to talk about it again." That was it. The phrase "before the wedding" echoed so loud that I forgot how to breathe. I never confronted her, never told anyone. But it made sense. The distance, the constant comparison, the unspoken wall between Dad and me. It wasn't favoritism, it was doubt. And I'd lived with that splinter of truth under my skin for decades, learning to move without letting it show. The seatbelt sign chimed softly, bringing me back. My reflection in the window stared back, older now, but still holding the same question. Who am I to them, really? I let out a shaky laugh. Guess I never wanted the answer anyway. But the universe doesn't leave secrets alone forever. A year ago, I got a voicemail from Mom, meant for someone else. Her voice was tired, detached. "I always worried about her finding out," she said. "She was never meant to be born into this chaos." I remember sitting at my kitchen table when I heard that. The world went quiet in a way that scared me. Not a sad quiet, not even angry, just hollow. She wasn't crying. She didn't sound broken. She sounded relieved. Relieved that I knew. I whispered her words now into the cabin air. Not meant to be born into this chaos. It rolled off my tongue like a confession I didn't owe anyone. The plane dipped slightly, a small tremor beneath my seat. I gripped the armrest, but my hands weren't trembling from the turbulence. It was the realization that everything I'd built, my independence, my calm, my pride, had been shaped by the people who never wanted me to stand on my own. I looked out again. The sun had started to rise over the horizon, a thin red line stretching across the clouds. Beautiful, but cruel. because light always exposes what darkness hides. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, assuming it was another automated alert from the airline. But when I glanced down, the number was unknown. One message. They're already twisting the story. You need to be ready. Attached was a photo, blurry but clear enough. Dad, Serena, a man in uniform, the same one who had escorted me to the jet, standing with them at the airport gate. My breath caught. I zoomed in, fingers tightening around the phone. The angle wasn't perfect, but I recognized the man. I'd seen him years ago, standing beside someone I shouldn't have trusted, and just like that, the old bruises inside me began to throb again. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The jet's engine settled into a low hum, smooth as a sleeping heartbeat, but my mind was far from still. I leaned back into the seat, gripping the armrest like it could anchor me to something solid. The envelope Silas had sent lay open on my lap, creased from how tightly I'd been holding it. I read every word on the letter again, each sentence more indicting than the last. They'd used my company card to book their group flights. Serena, my parents, even Lucinda. No authorization, no heads up, just assumption or arrogance. Probably both. There it was, plain as daylight. M. Marlowe Enterprises, authorized business travel. And below that, line after line of charges I'd never made. I didn't feel betrayed. That's too soft a word. What I felt was weight, like someone had been stacking bricks on my chest, one decision at a time for years. And now I could finally see the wall they built with my name. Action is the only thing that breaks a chain, I muttered, pressing the call button above me. Eris, Silas's assistant, answered within seconds through the onboard console. Need anything, Ms. Marlowe? I need full forensic access, all logs, transactions, metadata, and I want every request sent under my name in the last 6 months. A pause, then, understood. Sending encrypted login now. Within minutes, my laptop synced to the jet's secure Wi-Fi. I opened the portal I hadn't used since stepping down as CFO. The screen lit up with line items and file paths. My fingers moved on their own. Old muscle memory. Within seconds, I found them. 4 separate bookings, all billed under my company's umbrella. 2 labeled refunded to alternate card. I clicked deeper. Lucinda's name came up as the requester. The timestamp showed the refund processed at 1:13 a.m. I was asleep when they pulled money from my legacy. Attached to that same log was an email trail. Lucinda, coordinating with an airline rep. Please process under family account, she wrote. Marlowe won't be traveling. The arrogance. To refer to me by surname. To erase me like I'd erased myself. And then there was Serena's name, signed under group coordinator. I sat back, exhaled slowly. They didn't know silence would speak louder than lies. But the digital trail, it was loud now. Every screenshot I saved felt like a stitch closing an old wound. Not healing, just making sure it wouldn't reopen without warning. I wasn't done. Using the same remote login, I accessed the family archive. A massive drive of home videos, old marketing reels, boardroom highlights, mostly curated by Dad. I searched for my name. 2 hits, out of hundreds. The first was a family business retreat in Aspen. The title screen read, Serena Blythe Family Leaders. I watched the intro frame. I was there, clearly visible in the corner, handing out binders, smiling, but unnamed. The second clip, a slideshow. The company's 30th anniversary. My contributions were credited as assistant support, unnamed. I paused the screen, zoomed in. My handwriting on the whiteboard, my face explaining the strategy, their voices narrating Serena's vision. This wasn't a last-minute betrayal. This had been structured, coded into the narrative they were building long before now. They were planning to delete me from the legacy, gently, quietly, like I was a draft they never meant to keep. The speaker in the cabin crackled. Reva, why are you not picking up? It was Serena's voice, tight and faux casual. A group call. I tapped the monitor. Her image flickered to life. I saw Dad behind her, brows pinched. Mom sat like a statue. I'm watching what never wanted to watch me, I said. Wait, Riva, this is all a misunderstanding, Serena began, tone dipped in sugar. I cut her off. Don't pretend you don't know. I have the receipts. I have the credits. I have the recordings. Mom looked away. Dad opened his mouth, closed it. I'll send you all the files right now, I said, and then you can talk to the documents, not me. The silence was the closest thing to honesty I'd ever heard from them. The call ended. I let my head rest against the leather. We were descending now, Santa Fe approaching below, soft and red under the mid-morning sun. I didn't know what would meet me on the ground, but I was done hiding from any of it. My phone buzzed. A new message from Serena. You don't know what you're messing with. Attached, a link to a live stream. The thumbnail was her face, calm, lit just right, sitting next to my father. The caption, the truth about Riva, our side of the story. So, that's how they'd play it. They weren't hiding anymore, but neither was I. The jet landed softly in Santa Fe, and as I stepped out into the desert air, everything felt too still. The silence stretched wide. Nolan was waiting beside a nondescript SUV, his face in shadow under the late afternoon sun. He squared his shoulders and offered me a ride without a word. I knew by now how to travel light. The drive out from the airport was empty road and scrubland. No billboards, no homes, just me, Nolan, and the desert. We didn't speak much, but I sensed him watching me, measuring, waiting. When he finally broke the silence, he said, You don't seem surprised anymore. I shouldn't be, I replied quietly. Shock is for people who don't know what they lost. He nodded. The house I rented lay ahead, an adobe casita built modestly, walls thick, windows low. It felt safe. I stepped inside and left my suitcase by the door. Everything I cared about now existed in that laptop waiting on the kitchen table. I opened it. Nearly a dozen documents lay open from the files Silas sent. Spreadsheets, invoices, internal memos, airline bills. I spent minutes rearranging, labeling, highlighting. I watched closely, proven patterns emerging. They had booked their flights under my company's name. They rerouted refunds. They masked charges. Every action left a trace, and now the trace led back to them. I recorded a short voiceover in Nolan's car. Steady, calm, unshaking. You don't erase people without expecting echoes. I embedded it into the file packet. Then I titled the post, Why I Wasn't on the Family Trip, attached every document, screenshots, logs. I pressed upload. At first it trickled, hundreds, then thousands. The view count rose fast, comments flooded in. This was me too. Beautifully done, Riva. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. I didn't reply. I watched. Then my phone buzzed. Claire, my mother's old friend, voices from my past I didn't expect to hear from again. You're not paranoid, she wrote. There's a file hidden in your father's office. It proves more. My fingers hovered over the screen. My breath caught. They're planning to shift blame, she continued. Make you look unhinged. Don't let them rewrite the narrative. I wrote, Why are you doing this now? Her answer came fast. Because I watched what they did to your mother, too. That sentence knocked me off balance. The silence in my childhood home had always spoken loudest. Claire had heard it, felt it, maybe cared enough to act. I realized then, this fight was never just mine. It was generational. The phone rang. Dad. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Serena. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my post analytics. Over 100,000 views. I screenshot it and sent it to the family chat. No words, just evidence. Later, a voicemail arrived. I played it out loud. You think you're smarter than all of us now? You're tearing the family apart. You'll regret this, Riva. I didn't react. I deleted it. Power doesn't shout. It stands still. I stepped outside into the desert dusk. The sky dimmed. The wind whispered against adobe walls. I whispered into the dusk. You always told me I wasn't enough. Let's see who echoes louder now. Behind me, the door opened. Nolan emerged holding an envelope. He handed it gently. This came by courier. No return address, just your name, handwritten. I slid the envelope open, heart pounding. Inside was a flash drive and a note. Play this alone. I stood there, desert around me, clutching the drive, the last glow of daylight fading. The flash drive sat on the table all night. I didn't touch it, didn't move, didn't breathe more than I had to. By dawn, I'd memorized its shape, its weight, the scrawled words, play this alone. But before I could, the world decided to play me first. By early evening, my phone started vibrating nonstop. Notifications, mentions. Then one that froze me mid-step. You are requested to appear live on Security Ethics Review tonight regarding the Marlowe case. A summons disguised as an invitation. For years, I stayed silent, because that's how you survive families like mine. You stay quiet until they forget you're still standing. But this was a stage they thought they controlled. Nolan walked in with 2 mugs of coffee and saw my face. Let me guess, they want a show. They'll get one, I said. He frowned. You don't owe them another explanation. I'm not going there to explain, I told him, calm but cutting. I'm going to make sure the truth doesn't get buried again. He nodded, reading between my pauses. The desert outside the casita was glowing red against the falling light, a fitting place for reckoning. As the sun dropped behind the ridge, I sat down at the old wooden table and began setting up what looked like a broadcast studio. 2 lamps for lighting, a clean background, my laptop centered, the evidence stacked neatly at the edge of the frame. I'd spent my entire life preparing to be calm for other people's comfort. Tonight, calm would serve a different purpose. My phone buzzed again, a text from Serena. Don't humiliate us, Riva. Think of Mom. I read it twice, then replied, You lost the right to ask me for dignity when you cashed me out of it. Nolan looked over. That from her? Yeah, I said, voice steady. The last line in her script before the truth airs. I checked my notes again. Precise language, clear evidence, no anger. Anger was their weapon. I had better ones, facts, restraint, presence. The live segment link came through at 7:03 p.m. The message header read, Confirmed, Marlowe family financial allegations. I hit join. The screen opened with a smiling anchor, the kind of smile that hides teeth. Good evening, viewers. Tonight, a family dispute turned public scandal. Joining us, Riva Marlowe. Next to my feed appeared 2 familiar faces. Serena, jaw locked tight, and my mother, pale and silent. The anchor's voice oozed professional pity. Riva, your recent posts have created quite a storm. Why now? What do you hope to gain from this exposure? I leaned forward slightly, speaking slowly. I'm not gaining anything. I'm reclaiming what was already mine, respect, clarity, and a place I was denied. The anchor blinked. And you're saying your family used your company's funds without consent? I nodded. Yes, and I have proof. I shared my screen, airline invoices, expense reports, private transfers. Each line appeared with dates and signatures. The anchor's polite mask began to crack. Serena interrupted. That's out of context. I raised my hand. Let me finish. The room went quiet, the kind of quiet you can feel through a camera lens. When I was younger, I said, I thought silence was loyalty, but silence only protects the guilty. So no, I'm not here to attack anyone. I'm here because the truth shouldn't need permission. I saw the comments scroll live across the feed. Some supportive, some cruel. I didn't flinch. The anchor cleared his throat. Do you think this can ever be forgiven? If forgiveness comes with conditions, I said softly, it's not forgiveness. It's control. Serena looked ready to explode. You think you're so righteous? But before she could continue, the feed froze. Technical glitch. The anchor muttered off screen. I saw a flash of my mother's face before the screen cut to black. Her lips were moving. I could only read one sentence. What have we done? The broadcast ended abruptly. Nolan exhaled behind me. You did it, Halfway, I said. Truth has a longer run than airtime. He pointed to his phone. You're trending. I turned my laptop back on. Across social media, the hashtag #StandWithRiva was everywhere. Thousands of strangers were sharing my post, my video, their own stories. People I'd never met were filling the silence my family built around me. For a moment, I felt something close to peace. Then a new alert appeared at the top of my screen. Private file leaked. Family meeting minutes. Subject: liability transfer under Riva Marlowe's name. My chest tightened. I opened it. A PDF, grainy but legible. Their signatures. A date only 2 weeks ago. A plan to legally pin the company's losses on me. Nolan leaned over, reading it in silence. They're moving fast. So will I said. Because this wasn't just exposure anymore. This was war. It was late. The casita was quiet, lamps low, my laptop still open from the broadcast. I scrolled through comments, messages, everything that had spilled out from tonight's storm. My mind looped through every detail, every plea I never made. Then my phone rang with a video call. Isla's name flashed, my nephew's child. I accepted. The screen filled with her small face, soft and curious. Behind her was the faint outline of Mom's living room. Aunt Riva, she said quietly, why weren't you on the flight with Grandma and Dad? Her innocence cut deeper than any accusation. I froze. My throat closed. I looked past her to Serena's shadow hovering behind, screen name just glimpsed. I flew differently today, I said gently. Isla nodded, confused but trusting. I held on to that moment more than anything else in the night. After we hung up, I got another push alert. A user had posted video from the airport gate. Was Riva ever authorized to board? Comments followed. She's not in the manifest. Was she staff or an imposter? A twist I didn't see coming. People were assuming I never belonged, refusing to believe I belonged at all. My hands trembled, lips tight. I opened the app and posted, I flew private. My manifest is not public. Serena's media team responded seconds later with, just clearing up confusion for the public's sake. They tried to muddy the waters, but the truth didn't sink. Later, Serena launched a live rebuttal on her Instagram. Let her publish lies, but don't let her walk away with the narrative. I replied in her comments, I'm not walking, I'm rising. They posted a side-by-side image, one from my childhood, one from a travel shot. Caption, then now. Who changed? They tried to weaponize memory. I typed, don't turn my past into props. Behind her scenes, I heard Dad beg privately in a message, can we talk this out? I ignored it. Conversations happen on my terms. On social media, a poll popped up. Should Riva be included? Reporters echoed it live. The Marlowe family is visibly divided over her role. I watched, tight in the casita's kitchen light, face set. Then I wrote publicly, inclusion isn't a gift, it's a right. A journalist DM'd, would you hold a town hall? I replied, only if it's honest talk, not PR. They were trying to fence me in. I refused to be fenced. Outside, the desert sky darkened. A single dark cloud gathered on the horizon, like a silent watchman. My phone rang. A tip, anonymous. Tomorrow morning, the will is revealed. The screen flicked a PDF preview. Original Marlowe will, Riva's share. I stared at it. They thought they erased me. But tomorrow, the document might expose them. The message came before dawn. Claire's voice note was short, strained. You need to see this before anyone else does. Bring your calm, Riva. You'll need it. By first light, I was already driving through the back roads leading to the old Marlowe estate. The land looked smaller than I remembered, the air thinner, but the weight of what waited ahead made every mile heavier. The gates were open, rusted slightly from neglect. No guards, no sound, just a stillness that didn't feel peaceful. It felt expectant. Inside, the house smelled of cedar and dust. I followed the familiar creak of floorboards to my father's study. That room that once dictated the terms of every life decision I made. Claire stood by the old desk, hair tied back, eyes sharp. I found it last night, she said, holding up a worn leather folder. Hidden behind the false panel in the cabinet. I took it with steady hands but a shaking heart. Inside were yellowed pages, handwritten notes, signatures. Across the top, original Marlowe will. Every name was listed, every share, every clause, and there it was. My name, right where it should have been, tied to the company's founding trust. A full share, in black ink. Then, in the updated version filed last year, gone, erased. The handwriting in the margin was unmistakable. Dad's. Must omit Riva's share. For family unity. Family unity. The words hit harder than the omission. They weren't protecting the family. They were protecting themselves. My stomach turned. My hands clenched the edge of the desk. He signed this. Claire nodded. And your mother initialed it. Probably told herself it was temporary. I opened my phone, set it to record, and spoke in a calm, even tone. They didn't just rewrite my story. They redlined me out of it. Claire's eyes were wet but resolute. Once you show this, Riva, you can't take it back. There's nothing left to take back, I said. I folded the pages carefully, tucked them into a clear sleeve, and headed for the airport. By the time I reached the small private terminal, the sun had lifted over the horizon. I could see the family jet parked near the hangar, engines idling. I walked past the security post. Nobody stopped me. 2 ground crewmen were talking by the fuel truck. Runway cleared for special landing, one said. The pilot looked up, recognized me instantly, and gave a small nod. Morning, Ms. Marlowe. Clearance has your name on it. For the first time in years, I felt the irony cut clean. They'd cleared the runway for me, not realizing it was mine to begin with. Serena, Mom, and Dad stood further down the tarmac, near the car. I could feel their eyes on me, their posture tight. I approached slowly, the folder visible in my hand. You cleared this runway for me, I said, voice low but steady. Not for them. Dad frowned. Riva, this isn't the place. This is exactly the place, I interrupted, because this time, the air is clear. The truth wasn't a weapon anymore. It was an atmosphere, and they couldn't breathe in it. With Nolan's help streaming from the casita, I went live again. The camera faced me. The desert light behind me was unforgiving. This, I began, lifting the document, is the original Marlowe will, the one written before edits, omissions, or redactions. I read it aloud, clause by clause. My name repeated through the text, every line validating what they'd tried to erase. Serena's face blanched on her phone's split screen. Mom covered her mouth. When I reached the margin note, must omit Riva's share. I let it hang in silence. The audience didn't need my anger. They only needed the truth. Serena's voice cracked through the feed. You're twisting context. The connection glitched. Her mic cut. I looked straight into the lens. Justice isn't revenge. It's reclamation. I'm not taking anything new. I'm taking back what was mine. Comments flooded in again. Support, disbelief, shock. Some people cried, others sent heart emojis. Off camera, Dad's voice trembled. I thought I was balancing the family. Mom whispered, broken. What did I do to you? I didn't answer. The truth had already done that. Applause broke out from the workers nearby who'd been listening through their phones. For a fleeting second, I thought maybe this was the end. Then a black SUV pulled onto the runway. Its tires screeched as it stopped between the plane and me. A man stepped out, tall, sunglasses, holding a leather briefcase. He flashed a badge I didn't recognize and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. Delay that flight, he ordered the pilot. That document is invalid under current estate law. Engines quieted. The air stilled again. I stared straight at him. My pulse was steady now. You can try to bury it, I said. But the will already spoke. He didn't answer, just stood there, blocking the path while the desert wind gathered behind me. The war wasn't over, not yet. The man with the briefcase stood firm, sunglasses reflecting back the morning sun, posture stiff like a man holding on to a lie too long. He introduced himself. Howard Keene. I recognized the name. He'd been our family's legal puppet master for decades, sitting in on estate meetings I was never invited to, pulling strings quietly while the rest of us danced in the dark. He cleared his throat, voice calm but condescending. This document is a forgery. It was drafted by a former employee who was disgruntled, to say the least. I didn't flinch. That employee, she was your notary witness, and she's alive, well, and signed a sworn affidavit yesterday. I slid my phone across the nearest desk, showing the notarized scan, time-stamped, court-certified. He faltered. Behind him, Serena's face twisted. Not in anger this time, but something closer to disbelief. Dad looked like the ground had opened beneath his shoes. Then came the announcement over the PA. Miss Reva Marlowe, your clearance is approved. Proceed to gate 3. That voice. Public. Final. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Truth carries its own echo. Security cleared the runway. For me alone. I turned, walking away from them. Howard still arguing with air, Serena frozen, and Dad, well, even he had nothing left to say. In my jacket pocket was the thing I almost threw away weeks ago. That cheap ticket, printed off an old hotel printer. It had been the source of Serena's jokes, Mom's sighs, and my own embarrassment. At the terminal gate, I pulled it out, held it up. The attendant glanced at it, smiled kindly, and said, "Sometimes the cheapest ticket takes you the farthest." I handed it over. "Keep it. It's worth more than any upgrade." And just like that, the thing that once symbolized rejection became my key to peace. Boarding didn't feel triumphant. It felt earned. I walked the aisle with a calm I hadn't known in years. No whispers, no glances, just my own breath, steady. As I took my seat, I heard her voice again, my mother's laugh, the high, amused one she used when she thought I was dreaming too big. Only this time, it faded, softened, like it had been replaced by quiet acknowledgement. Back in the terminal, security surrounded the others. Their jet stayed grounded. No special boarding calls, no gentle escort. Serena's voice rose behind the glass wall. "You destroyed everything!" I didn't shout back, just shook my head. "No, I just showed what you built it on." Dad reached out once, barely audible. "You were always the one with courage." The way he said it, it wasn't flattery, it was surrender. Mom, tears painting lines down her cheeks, tried to follow. "Please don't let this be goodbye." I stopped, turned, met her eyes. "It's not goodbye," I said. "It's distance. Finally earned." And that was the end of a chapter we never knew how to close. The engines started. I sat by the window. Quiet. Outside, a ground crew member gave a casual wave. I nodded back, pulled out my journal, wrote a line I hadn't known I believed until now. Power doesn't mean control. Sometimes it just means choosing peace. I stared out as birthday candles, forgotten recitals, laughter at gates that never welcomed me, all faded into the horizon. The pilot's voice came through, soft and steady. "Runway clear, departing now." The plane lifted. So did something inside me. Minutes later, just as we hit cruising altitude, the in-flight screen flickered. A message blinked in white. "Passenger message received. Thank you for showing us the truth. S." I stared at it, long and hard. Was it Serena? Or someone else? I didn't know. Didn't need to. The sky stretched wide in every direction. I leaned back, closed my eyes for just a moment, and whispered, "They laughed at my cheap ticket. But it bought me freedom."